Cut into a perfectly ripe plum, and you immediately see the appeal. The flesh gives way instantly, and the juices start pooling before the knife even hits the cutting board. Walk past the stone fruit bins at any grocery store or flip through a nursery catalog, and you'll encounter about a dozen major global varieties. At a glance, they look like slightly different shades and sizes of the exact same fruit. But beneath the skin, they operate on completely different chemical mechanics. Depending on the variety, you are dealing with drastic variations in water content, pectin levels, and pit structure. This flowchart illustrates exactly what happens when you select a plum based purely on how it looks. Ignoring the internal chemistry leads to direct failures in the kitchen. If you take a plum bred for high moisture and put it into a pie, that water will boil over in the oven. You waste your ingredients and you end up with a ruined, soggy pastry crust. And for home orchardists, it's a multi-year risk. Plant the wrong variety for your climate, and a single late frost will destroy your entire harvest before the fruit even sets. To avoid those outcomes, we need to stop looking at plums as a simple list of 12 fruits. We need to categorize them by their actual structural properties. Whether you are investing an afternoon in baking or years in growing a tree, success requires matching the specific variety to your exact operational goal. The easiest way to organize these 12 varieties is to recognize the plum world is split into two major genetic camps, Japanese and European. The defining trade-off between these two camps comes down to a single metric, moisture versus density. This quadrant chart maps those functional traits. The horizontal axis measures moisture, from dense to juicy. The vertical axis measures pit adhesion, from clingstone to freestone. Plotting the Japanese varieties, like Santa Rosa, Black Friar, and Satsuma, they group tightly in the top right corner. For the casual snacker, this is exactly what you want. These plums grow large, have a refreshing flavor, and deliver maximum juiciness eaten raw. But their high water content turns baked goods to soup, and their clingstone pits require messy knife work. Now look at the European varieties, like Damson, Italian Prune, and Victoria. They land in the exact opposite corner. European plums look different physically. They tend to be elongated and blue or purple. Inside, the flesh is dense, meaty, and packed with high natural sugars. Bakers rely on these varieties. The freestone pits pop out with zero effort, and the dense flesh holds its shape perfectly under high oven heat. The trade-off for the snacker is texture. Because they lack that high water content, eating a European plum raw can feel dry or overly firm. You cannot have both. Maximizing juiciness for a fresh snack inherently sacrifices the structural integrity you need for baking. You have to choose your priority. If we step away from the standard red and blue binaries found in the grocery store, we find a few old-world outliers that play by their own rules. Looking at this layout, you'll notice these plums lack any red or purple pigment. These are the niche European delicacies, the green Gage and the Mirabelle. Their culinary superpower is their flavor. Thanks to an intense honey-like sweetness, they yield the highest quality jams and tarts in the world. However, they remain a niche product because they carry severe drawbacks. They command premium pricing, have an incredibly short shelf life, and serve narrow regional markets. But securing the fruit is only half the battle. If we pivot to the backyard, the home orchardist faces entirely different constraints. For a grower, success comes down to chill hours. This is the specific amount of winter cold a tree must experience before it will produce fruit. Japanese plum trees require very few chill hours. Because of this, they break dormancy early, producing blooms at the very beginning of spring. European plum trees require significantly more chill hours. They sleep through the early spring and bloom much later in the season. That timing dictates exactly what you can plant. Japanese varieties offer early harvests in warm zones, but if you plant them in a cold region, a late frost will wipe out those early blooms, resulting in total crop loss. The mechanics of stone fruit ultimately follow one simple rule. The juicier the plum, the worse it will perform in the oven. Here is your cheat sheet for navigating these 12 varieties. It all comes down to pairing your specific scenario with the correct genetic profile. For the bakers, your primary instruction is avoidance. Skip the large, round, red plums entirely. Instead, explicitly seek out Italian, Damson, or Mirabelle varieties. You need their structural integrity and the convenience of a freestone pit. For the snackers eating the fruit fresh, you want Japanese varieties. Look for Santa Rosa, Satsuma, or Elephant Heart. You will have to deal with the annoyance of a clingstone pit, but that is the necessary trade-off for maximum juiciness and immediate gratification. Finally, for the growers, your first step happens before you buy a tree. You must verify your local frost dates and your regional chill hours. Stick to the climate rule. Choose Japanese varieties for warm climates with early blooms, and European varieties for colder climates that demand late blooms. There is no single perfect plum out there. There is only the right tool for your specific job. Whether you're baking a pastry or planting an orchard, protecting your investment requires looking past the visual aesthetics of the fruit and understanding the functional chemistry beneath the skin.